Back to our studies. We were talking about epistemology last week. How do we know what we believe is truth? How do we know what we know is truth? It's a very important question. Some people say because it is logically correct. So logic is their ultimate measurement. Some people say because my experience has attested it. They are empiricist. Experience is their measure. And even there are people who will say that no, it's my faith, my trust or faith in the Bible. They are fideist. Then there are other people, there are skeptics who say that you should be skeptical about everything you believe. Never in life you will totally commit to your faith. You should be skeptical. Keep on asking and questioning. That's the only way you can keep your faith in check. Well, Bible does not teach skepticism. Jesus or apostles never said you need to be skeptical of what you believe. No, so skepticism is wrong. So we were talking about, our worldview and philosophy. Now, I just wanted to come and touch upon philosophy and metaphysics. Metaphysics is a beautiful word that means after physics. After physics. Meta in Greek means after. Metaphysics, after physics.
After physics, beyond.
After physics, it's I believe it is, now I have a Plato or Aristotle, I believe one of the two. I wanted to check it, but I think Aristotle or Plato, they wrote one book called Physics, After that he wrote a book, and the subject of that book was about God and about soul and about everything. So he titled that book Metaphysics, After Physics, the book that I wrote after physics. So from that time on, metaphysics means the subjects that are dealt with in that book written after physics. Okay. So that's how the word metaphysics has come. But today metaphysics means subjects that relates to God, existence basically, existence, the being, the being of God, the being of man, such things, the metaphysics. It talks about who God is and, what's our spirit and all those things about the being. B-E-I-N-G, capital B for God and small b for man. The being and the being. So metaphysics is a very important subject. It deals with ultimate realities, ontology and cosmology. Ontology, ontos means being, existence, that's what ontos. And so ontology talks about existence. Cosmology talks about the origin of the world, universe and all, the orderliness. The word cosmos means orderliness, beauty. Cosmetics come from that word. We all like cosmetics, things that we use to beautify ourselves. So that comes with the word cosmos. The word cosmos means beauty, order. That's what it is. So when ladies use some cosmetics, it's good, because you definitely wanted to make things a little more orderly and nice. Men should never use cosmetics, and ladies should always use cosmetics. Once there was a lady in an office, she hated Christians and pastors. So a pastor walked in for some business matters into the office, and the lady there, she said, cosmetics, It's an insult on man. Yes, using cosmetics. So the man walked up to the lady and said, no cosmetics. That's a greater insult. Because if you are a woman, you must use some cosmetics. If you are a man, you should not use any cosmetics. you know. So cosmos means that orderliness, that beauty and all that, you know. So cosmetic surgery is to beautify a person, you know, the cosmetic surgery to beautify a person. To remove some of the wrinkles and all those things, they do cosmetic surgery. Maybe a wound, they wanted to take away the scar and all that. So it is to beautify. So cosmology talks about how the orderliness of the universe, how God has made such a beautiful universe, everything works in order, in time and everything perfectly. So metaphysics basically deals with these areas of ontology, about existence and about orderliness. All Christians believe that the ultimate reality is God. God is a supreme source of all being or reality. God is the ultimate reality. All Christians believe that, but others don't believe that. Christians are the most logical people, because you start asking questions with anybody, finally you have to come to God. That's the only logical answer. So our metaphysics says that there is an absolute being, ultimate being, an uncaused being, the uncaused being who is the cause of all causes in the world, you know. So that's our ontology basically, you know. And because He is the ultimate reality, we are. Because He is, we are, you know. Somewhere there must be an ultimate reality if there is a relative reality anywhere. If anywhere there is truth, then there must be an ultimate truth, because truth, you know, has no meaning unless it is analogous to the ultimate truth. If there anywhere in the world there is a 2 p.m., then there must be somewhere where the 2 p.m. is fixed. Otherwise there is no meaning in saying 2 p.m. If there is a 1 kilo somewhere, then there must be an absolute kilo somewhere. Otherwise, how do you decide this is 1 kilo? Who is going to say this is 1 kilo? So, and without an absolute, the world cannot operate. That's accepted in every area. How can these evolutionists and all these people, the materialists, can operate without an absolute reality? I do not know. The space-time creation depends upon the Creator God for its actuality, meaning and purpose. The creation is intelligible because the Creator is intelligent. That's right. Creation is intelligible because the person who made it is intelligent. You think of an unintelligent person devises a machine that is so intelligently operating. It doesn't make any sense. If the watch is running right and showing the right time, then there must be a man with the sense of time. Must be a man with the sense of time. He observes it very carefully. He adjusts the screw this way, a little bit negative way or the positive way to adjust the time. He knows exactly where it should be. So there must be, these are, simple logic. The creation is intelligible therefore because the Creator is intelligent. And our ability to understand our Creator and the creation is because we are created in the image and likeness of the Creator. How are we going to understand this whole world? You think about it. You stand at the Indian Ocean or the Arabian Sea or any other oceans, Mediterranean Sea or anything you wanted. You stand there and you say, I'm going to understand this sea. How are you going to understand this sea? It's so vast. You understand it because there is a Creator who created it understandably. Understandably. That is the only reason. Otherwise you cannot. There is no way we can. Even our initiative to study the created world comes from our Creator, because the Creator has not only allowed us but commanded us to study it, because without studying, how are you going to capture it? If any warrior or any king or any commander is going to make war against another nation, what he will do first? He will study. He will study about a lot of things, about their army, about their weapons and armors and everything, the movement of the army, what way they may take, how many air force, planes they have, warlords they have, and all those things you study. You just won't go and pour out your bomb somewhere, because that will be a waste. The same way, if you wanted to explore this universe, you have to have a starting point. as far as our starting point is the intelligence God has created, the system God has devised, and our image and likeness, analogous to God's image. So what is the ultimate reality is the question that divides the Christian from the humanist philosopher. Science assumes an orderly universe resulted by accidents or chance. Christians assume an orderly universe resulted by a personal, intelligent, orderly being called God, which is more logical. The atheistic scientists, the evolutionary scientists, they say that our ultimate is the chance. It's the chance. It's all chance. Well, when the moment they say chance, you could always say, so there was a good chance that it won't work, right? So what made this chance to work? Chance is the law of probability. Some of you probably have learned law of probability. What's the law of probability? If you have 10 people here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You write the names of all these 10 people. Put each name 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the sequence and mix it and take it out. They must come in the sequence itself. The first number you take must be 1, the second must be 2, the third 3 in that sequence. What's the probability?
100%.
Yes. 1 in 10 raised to 9. That's the probability. You put 10 and 9 zeros, and so many times you take it, there is probability of 1 time getting it. So you talk about, the probability of evolving life and all this universe so systematically. You need so much faith in it. Actually an evolutionist have to have 100,000 times more faith in the evolutionary system than a believer will have faith in God. Because he needs only little faith. Yeah, I believe God is all powerful, he can make it. That settles it so easily. But for the other person, it's so difficult. So, creationism is so right. Our metaphysics is so right. Yes. For the Christian, matter exists, but never the ultimate reality. Matter is real, but not ultimate reality. Matter is real, but never eternal. The material universe was created with a design and purpose. So it operates as per the design, and intelligently. In the beginning there was Logos and nothing else. In the beginning God created the heavens and the earth. Without God there could be no created universe. Look at it. The Bible says so clearly, there should be something in the beginning. That beginning has to be a person, because only a person can intelligently act. Only a person can design. Only a person can execute a design. And to say that in the beginning was the matter and nothing but the matter, and by chance and time it evolved. You have to have a design. Where the design comes from. The created universe itself contains such qualities. It is no accident that at every level of cosmos, subatomic, atomic, organic, inorganic, subhuman, human, earth, moon, sun, stars, galaxies, all these manifest amazing order and rationality that can be reasonably explained only as a result of a deliberate creative act of God. You take anything, the smallest amoeba, that's the smallest, okay. You take an atom of that one is, it's so complicated and so complex and so systematic and so organized. Every one of them operate the same way. And you say that it's accident? What accident? We all lived these our years. You have ever seen order coming out of accident? How many accidents are happening every day? It's happening on the road, in the factories, even in Chernobyl, so many places, atomic plants and all accidents come. What good thing came out of it? Never. Accidents never produce order. So for people to say that, accidents came, non-living matters like matter by chance and accident is producing so complicated, so systematic, so intelligent creation, man, you are strange to say that. So all Christians believe that God is the absolute reality and all else is relative reality. Because God, He is, we are. Because God, He is, we are. That's the only explanation. For the Christian, matter exists but is not eternal. It's never eternal. Supernatural created the natural. Since the supernatural God is a person with reason, purpose, power, the created universe is powerful. The early verse of John 1 contain the metaphysics of the Christians. John chapter 1 verses 1 through 4. In the beginning of the cosmos was the word, or the logos, the mind, the reason, the thought, wisdom, intelligence, idea, law, order, purpose, divine in a person. Because all these things can be only in a person. Reason cannot exist in a non-person. You cannot find reason in a stone. You cannot find purpose in a stone. The purpose of a stone is not decided by the stone. The purpose of the stone is decided by a person. Why you want that stone to be put there? The stone can never decide itself. So when in the beginning, before the cosmos, there was the reason, the purpose, the design existing in a person. That's our metaphysics, And the Logos was Theos, actual God. He was with God in the beginning. All things were created through Him, and apart from Him, not one thing was created that has been created. In Him was life, and that life was the light of men. What statements are they? You can preach on those statements for hours and hours. Yes, hours and hours. In Him was life. Only life can produce life. Non-living situation cannot produce a living situation. No. To this day in the world, nobody has seen a dead thing producing a living thing. Only life can produce life. So, whatever produced the first life, that must have been an absolute life. So these verses set forth the parameters of Christian philosophy. Mind before matter, God before man, plan and design before creation, life originating from life, enlightenment from the first light. So this is the parameters of Christian philosophy, mind before matter. The evolutionists put matter before mind. And they put man before God. For them there is no God. They put the plan and design before the creator, the one to make it. How can they do it? Life only from life. They make life from dead things. Because matter has no life. Matter has no life. Even oxygen has no life. None of the matters have life. So how can they? The orderly universe was conceived in the orderly, rational mind of God before it was created. Without logos, no cosmos. Without logos, no cosmos. To the Christian, the order and beauty and the system of the cosmos is there because it is the way the logos created it. If you ask why the beauty of the world, the Creator's beauty, the aesthetic value of the Creator. Our God is an aesthetic God. He has such aesthetic values. Man, He appreciates. I often wonder why God made so beautiful flowers, the orchids. Man found out the orchids only very lately because orchids used to grow in the forest. Wild, they brought it here. But in the wild, who saw them first? Oh, the triune God look at the orchids and say that, look, beautiful, aren't they? Before people had all these devices of, diving into the depth of the ocean, where they have, those small and colorful fishes, so beautiful ones. Who watched them? God. God painted them so beautiful because God wanted to watch them, and God said, man, that's beautiful, isn't it? Did God say, man, that is beautiful? No. I thought you will catch it, but you didn't. So God said, God, it's beautiful, isn't it? Yes. Man now picks them up from there and sells them in the aquarium and all, those beautiful, nice flowers. They make money, but they are so beautiful. They are so beautiful. Yes, yes, yes. Warren C. Young, in his book, A Christian Approach to Philosophy, has said, Christian realists are contingent dualists, but not eternal dualists. They hold that there are two kinds of substances, spirit and matter, which was created ex nihilo, as Augustine suggested. Matter is not spirit, nor is it reducible to spirit, but its existence is always dependent upon God, who created it out of nothing. So Young has said it so beautifully, nobody can improve it. Christian realists, we are the Christian realists, we are contingent dualists, but not eternal dualists. Means, matter and spirit were not eternal. Holy Spirit was eternal. Conditional dualist means, then God, that spirit, created the matter. Then it is matter and spirit. We believe that God the Spirit has created the matter. That's what we believe. So we believe in contingent dualism. We don't believe eternal dualism. There are two kinds of substances, spirit and matter. But matter was created ex nihilo, out of nothing. Creation out of nothing. It was St. Augustine who suggested, coined that word, ex nihilo creation. Matter is not spirit, nor is it reducible to spirit. But its existence is always dependent upon God, who is spirit, Matter is never spirit. You cannot make spirit out of matter. God created the body of man, and then He wanted to, for the creation of the spirit, He breathed into it. Because matter cannot bring spirit. You can only bring out substances that are therein, right? You can take out copper, iron, zinc, magnesium and all that. But spirit is not in the matter. So the matter has to be given by, the spirit has to be given by the Spirit, God the Spirit. So these evolutionists say that there was matter, and then how did the spirit came? Where will you explain? In any equation, if you have an additional thing, you must just tell that where it came from. Because H2O, plus 2O2 is equal to H2O. That's what it is. Jesus Christ made water into wine. Wine contains what? Carbon. The wine contains carbon. Where the wine came from, that's why it's a miracle. The Creator has created it. That's the only explanation. Otherwise, nobody can convert water into wine, because water is hydrogen and oxygen. Wine has carbon in it. So carbon, the Creator has brought in. That's why it's a miracle. That's why it's a miracle. We cannot, no scientist can. Well, sometimes people say that, somebody was carrying an arak in their jeep, the excise people stopped it. Said, what is in it? They said, water, sir. So they went and they tested it as arak, and then one of the drivers said to the other, the Lord again did it. We filled water with the Lord all the way. Yeah, at least they had the sense to say the Lord did it. Because only the Lord could do it. Nobody else could do it. Yeah, but that's true, There needs a miracle. So the creation is a miracle as far as man is concerned. But for the Creator, it's not a miracle. because it's only an expression of his power, So this is our metaphysics is very, very, very important. We believe logically, our belief is logical, our belief is right. Because if they say in the beginning was matter and then they stop there, in the beginning was matter and the matter was there and the matter was there and the matter was there. Where the life came from? In the beginning was the matter and the matter was there, the matter was there, the matter was there, the matter was there. Only we can say that in the beginning was the Logos, the Spirit, and God created the matter ex nihilo. And then God added spirit to the matter, like the physical body of man was made and then God breathed into him. Therefore man became a dualist, He has a material body and he has a non-material or spiritual, inner being. That's how man is there. It's not an accident, it never came an accident. It never. Where the conscience has come from? Where the conscience? No animal has conscience. All of a sudden, from monkey doesn't have conscience, all of a sudden, man came, where it came from? Matter can neither be created nor destroyed. So, you cannot create then spirit from the matter. It has to have, there must be an act of creation. You are not saying that in the beginning was spirit and matter. Then it would have been different if the evolution says that in the beginning was spirit and the matter. Then we have a problem to say that, of course, they are equating eternality for the matter as much as eternality for the spirit. There may be a problem, we can solve that problem much, not a big problem. But at least they will solve their problem where the spirit has came from. They are not, but of course they don't need reason. It's a hypothesis. It's a hypothesis. Young uses the term Christian realism to represent Christian philosophy. Yes. It is different from in the art, in the painting and art there is realism, surrealism, realism, impressionism, so many subdivisions for the art and the painting and all. That's not what, that's different. Here realism means, what is really there. You take man, there is a material part, that's real. And there is an immaterial part, the spirit, soul spirit, that's real. So Christian philosophy is realism. They are not just hypotheticating something. No, they are not imagining something. No, they are talking about the real thing, the real actual thing. Now it comes the problem of the mind and the body, the problem of the mind and the body. Or the mental proof, we may say. The question whether the mind and the body are distinctly different and separate, or they are only the two aspects of one thing, is vital to Christian philosophy of life. That's a big question. Yes, matter and mind, are they same thing? Two aspects of the same thing, or are they distinctly clear? That's a very vital question for Christian philosophy. How one treats the body and the mind is a very significant part of one's metaphysics. The supernaturalist or the Christian believes that the mind or the consciousness exists as a separate entity from the purely physical. That's what we believe. Our spirit, our inner being exists distinctly different from the body. It's true God has put them together in one body, however they have independent faculties, they have independent qualities and everything. The physical body, it's a matter and therefore it shows every character of the matter, but our soul spirit does not show any character of the matter. So the Christian believes that his mind is a reflection of the universal mind that created the universe ex nihilo. Our mind is showing that there is a supernatural ultimate mind. Our body is showing that there is matter, but the matter was created. Therefore our body decay and is lost. But the spirit never undergo a decay. On death the spirit departs and be in a place. So the separation of the spirit from the body, and the body undergoing decay, degeneration, but the spirit no. The spirit no. That's very important. For the Hindus and all, the spirit is composed of, I don't know what they will say that, the Atma, their concept of the Atma. The Christian sees the mind as an additional proof for the existence of the supernatural. Generally, all people see their thinking process as something distinct from the matter of the material world. Take, for example, you